What's up guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how to work effectively through deep work. Deep work is essentially high quality work produced through extreme focus that allows you to work efficiently and quickly. And oftentimes deep work sessions are several hours long. Many people, including myself, believe that deep work is one of, if not the most important skills to build in the 21st century. Cal Newport, the author of the book Deep Work, which summarizes pretty much everything you need to know about deep work, he talks about in his opening chapter the utility of the skill of deep work, as it gives you access to two fundamental core skills that you need to have to thrive in the modern economy. The first skill that he suggested was the ability to learn things that are extremely difficult to master. The skill with the rapid, growth of technology, it's very important to be able to tackle, new obstacles that come in the way of technological growth. And so because of this, being able to master really difficult, skills is a really important skill in this day and age. Whether you want to be a yoga instructor or a doctor, if you can't master the most complex set of skills in each occupation, you can't expect to gain the highest title. The second skill that Newport mentioned was the ability to produce at an elite level in terms of both quality and speed. This is interlinked with the first question in a sense that the first question provides that you can master a skill, and then this skill is to be able to take the mastery of the previous skill and then produce tangible results that the people value. Newport also mentions a form of work that contrasts that of deep work, which is shallow work. Shallow work is essentially work that doesn't really provide real value and it's easily replicated. An example of this could be checking and replying to emails that you see. That's a really good example and a really commonly used example of shallow work. However, the use of the term shallow should not discredit the necessity of completing shallow tasks. What really is required is since shallow tasks are still important, what's required is a balance, a healthy and the most efficient balance possible between deep work and shallow work, so that you ensure that all of your shallow work is done, but you also get a good amount of time on deep work. And what you have to consider is that this balance is different between person to person based on occupation. The book is divided up into 7 chapters, 3 of which are dedicated to explaining why deep work is extremely valuable and meaningful. And then there's 4 chapters afterwards, which are much longer, which are dedicated to explain how to acquire the skill of deep work. Now, the 4 chapters are work deeply, then there's embrace boredom, quit social media, and then there's drain the shallows. The first chapter, called work deeply, is essentially just to outline the parameters and answer basic questions deeply for deep work, such as how to perform deep work, when to perform deep work, and what the results of deep work should look like. The second and third chapters, which are to embrace boredom and to quit social media, are heavily interlinked in a sense that they both hijack your ability to be focused. For instance, when you are bored, this is what the embrace boredom chapter is about. When you're bored and you just pick up your phone, that weakens your mental muscles. It makes it easy for you to give in to distraction. So what happens when you try to do deep work and you try to really stay focused? You get distracted so easily. It's so easy to get distracted, which is why there's 2 whole chapters dedicated to trying to help you to get rid of that focus from going to other distractions and to strengthen your mental muscles. So the second chapter, which is essentially called embracing boredom, is exactly what it sounds like. Now, generally speaking, when a person is bored, they'll do something to stimulate themselves, okay? And so they'll usually pick up their phone or something, swipe on TikTok, something like that. And that, as I said, weakens your mental muscles, and it makes it really hard to stay focused when you are required to do so. And so if, say, you give into distractions really easily, now what happens is when you start doing deep work and you try to focus, but you feel a little bored, what happens? You pick up your phone. And so that's where embracing boredom and really trying to avoid distractions and strengthen those mental muscles comes in. Now, the third chapter, which is to quit social media, as I said, is heavily connected with the second chapter to embrace boredom. And that's because oftentimes when you're bored and you pick up your phone, it's usually because you're using social media. And so that's where quitting social media has its big application. But another thing is that using social media has also been shown to, reduce attention spans, which is a big thing when you're trying to focus, right? So let's use TikTok as an example. When you swipe on TikTok, every 5 to 10 seconds, it shows you a new video. It bombards your brain with a new piece of information, and your brain has to process all of that. If you do that for days and weeks, and you're always on your phone, and you're continually doing that, it conditions your brain to think a bunch of different things every few seconds. So what happens when you try to sit down and do some work, some quality work? You can't focus. You're thinking a bunch of things at once. And so that's where quitting social media has its applications. Now, I mentioned previously that deep work is usually in really long sessions. And that's because, obviously, any form of work is the amount of focus you have times, say, the amount of time that you're spending, right? So obviously, if you control the time that you're spending, then if you increase that, your productivity will increase. But what you might argue is that, okay, well, what if I do 1 hour blocks? Well, you have to also consider that when you are doing deep work, your productivity is like this. It will go up and then go back down. So when it goes down, that's 6-7 hours. That's when it's you're actually gonna fall asleep. All right. But when you first start, it takes a bit of thinking to get your brain into a flow state or a deep work state. It takes some time. And so every time you stop, this is why I don't really agree with the Pomodoro technique, is because every time you stop, that timer, the amount of time that it takes to get into a deep work state resets. And you don't want that to happen, because when it resets, now it's going to take some time before you get focused again. So it's better to do it all in one stretch and then just be done with it. So generally speaking, working for an hour or less in work blocks is usually going to severely reduce the efficiency that you work at. Now, Cal Newport in the book says that, roughly speaking, if with sufficient training, the average person can work deeply for 4 hours. Notice that I say with sufficient training, which means if you're doing 1 hour blocks just to get started, just to get into the habit of deep work, that's totally fine. That's really good, because even I max 2 hours right now. I might go to 3 hours of deep work sessions within a few months, and then 4 maybe if I get to that point. But that will, as I said, require lots of training, because deep work is a skill that you have to build. So as I said, 1 hour blocks are fine if you're just training those mental muscles so that you can focus for longer periods of time. Finally, the last chapter for the book Deep Work by Cal Newport is called Drain the Shallows, which is all about minimizing the time that you spend on shallow work and maximizing the time you spend on deep work, so that you can have an effective balance between deep work and shallow work and get the best results you can possibly get. I will create videos in the future that essentially, go into more depth with each of these 4 chapters on building the skill of deep work. But for now, considering that deep work is so valuable and rare and difficult to acquire, consider the applications it has on work that you do, as well as the advantage it will give you over others if you learn how to apply it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. That's it for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.